Thank you all.
Coach Pearl, thank you for being here. I'm just gonna say, sidebar, on your coaching accolades alone, we saw the video, as being one of the few Jewish coaches to ever achieve what you have achieved in collegiate athletics, that alone would be enough of a reason to invite you here today. But it's not why you're here. Similarly, if you weren't Jewish and all you were known for was your advocacy of the Jewish state, that alone would be enough of a reason to invite you here today.
Well, listen, here's what jumps out at me. I've been the Auburn basketball coach for 11 years, but in the last 8 years, we've won 5 championships with 5 different teams. That's a God thing. That is Hashem. That's the blessings from the Lord. You cannot explain it any other way.
Genesis 12:3 never fails. It's like A plus B equals C. If you put water in the freezer, what are you gonna get?
Ice.
You bless Israel, what's gonna happen to you?
Blessing.
We don't make the rules, we just read the rules. So you have said in the press many times that America has saved your family's life. Can you tell our people what you mean by that?
I would give my life for my country, first and foremost, because this country saved my family. When my papa was 11 years old, he came over here with his 3 younger siblings. My Auntie Shirley, my Auntie Claire, and my Uncle Harold was an infant. He was 11. His parents and most of his family could not afford the trip, and most of them perished in the Holocaust. When I was just 7 years old, it was 1967, it was a 6-day war. Papa never watched TV, he was a plumber. He would get up before anybody would get up. After dinner, he would go to bed. He never watched television. This night, he's watching television, and he's crying. I said, Papa, why are you crying? He said, come here, sit down. Puts me up on his leg, and he tells me about Israel. He tells me about his family, and he tells me that when he was 32 years old, he became a citizen in this country, 20-something years after he emigrated here. And he told me this country saved our family's life. Don't ever forget it.
God bless your grandfather. And is that what led you to become such an advocate for the state of Israel? Or what if there was kind of like a precipice in your life that just you said, this is what I'm called to do?
Growing up in Boston, born in 1960, I was young enough to remember when the gates opened and we learned that 6 million of my brothers and sisters were murdered because of how they prayed. And you're a kid and you don't understand that. These grandparents that you adore, that speak broken English, that speak Yiddish, that are so grateful to be in this country, and yet they are a bit afraid of their neighbors, and I didn't understand why. Because of being proselytized and being threatened, and I guess I just didn't understand it. Growing up in Boston was an amazing city, great ethnicity, great different traditions, but there was real racism. There was real antisemitism. There was real divisions within the neighborhood. I'm an athlete. I'm a kid. We're out there on a playground. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what color is. Can you play defense and will you pass me the ball? Right? That's all I care about. And as a kid, I'm going home and you get off the bus and you're going to go study, or maybe you're going to go date a girl or do something like that, and you walk into the house and the parents take the kid and you go in the back room. Of all the kids, of all the boys on your team, you got to bring the Jew home, right? Really? You be a kid and you see it and you don't understand it because, and then my friend has to apologize for his parents. And so that I began to understand that somehow I was different, and yet I didn't feel different. Keep in mind, I'm a coach. God's made me to be a coach. I don't know that that's what I'm supposed to do, but my job is to bring people together, for us to make sacrifices, for us to do things together, because together we can do so much more. So this whole thing is beyond foreign to me. And I said, you know what? This is what God's put me here to do. I'm going to bring us together. And so I went to Boston College, a Jesuit school, where there weren't hardly any Jewish kids. Why? Because I wanted them to see me. One of the reasons why athletes are not racist is because we compete against our brothers. We have respect for one another, but we have interaction. And so many times, racism, it's out of ignorance. It's out of not knowing one another. And so that was, so then for me, to learn how Israel was surrounded by people that wanted her dead and did not want the Jews in the land. And I just didn't understand that, and I had to find out why.
That's so important what you're talking about, that horizontal action you're talking about, of course, on the court, that it's very difficult to hate somebody when you're experiencing the game this way. And of course, that's what Israel tries to do in terms of paying fair wages to Palestinians, even though they are BDS, trying to be BDS, because it's really difficult to hate somebody when you're just sitting here like this. So the power of the living room, the power of the court, to have that horizontal action, it really blunts hatred.
It does. And the other thing too that really confused me was I looked at the faiths and I looked at Jerusalem and I said, this is not a place that should divide us. This is a place that should unite us. We all got our beginnings from this very same place. I look at the Abrahamic covenant. Abraham, the father of all children, whether we like it or not, that makes us mishpacha. That's Yiddish for family. And then I did not go to Hebrew school, okay, every day, after school and learn on what an amazing rabbi Jesus was. I didn't. And I don't know whether or not you, in your early beginnings as a Christian believer, whether you knew that he was Jewish and lived his entire life in Israel as a Jew. His parents were Jewish, right? And by the way, do you know who the two most popular Jews in Alabama are? Me and Jesus. We are. We are. But keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. I'm a coach as a kid, and I don't even really know it. I don't know that's what God's plan is, but this is what is working in me. And so as I got a little older and I got more mature in my faith, I got upset. I got upset with my rabbis, and I maybe would get upset with your ministers that they didn't teach us to understand the connection that we have to one another. And so one of the reasons why I'm excited about being here, I'm here to thank you, my Christian brothers and sisters. I'm here on that wall, okay? You are on that wall for Jerusalem. You're watchmen, and you are on that wall. And I am on that wall with you. We are together. We are not alone.
Put me in, Coach. Let's go. Coach, can you tell us about times in your life since you have been more outspoken in your advocacy? Can you tell us about any times just professionally or personally where you've gotten maybe some unexpected resistance?
Yeah. Well, Sandy, listen, I'm gonna tell everybody here, don't quit your day job, okay? You've got to, listen, you got to take care of your family. I saw Ron Dermer up. You know Ron Dermer. He assists Prime Minister Netanyahu. He's an amazing guy, huge sports fan. And we're always calling, like I talked to Pastor Hagee, what can I do more? I want to do more. My wife Brandy and I, we want to do more. We don't feel like we're doing enough. Ron Dermer says to me, you know what you could do? Win the national championship. That's what you could do. Elevate your platform. Do the best you can in your business. As I tell my Jewish coaches who are out there saying, look, you've got to be kinder. You've got to be the one that the player goes to with a challenge and a problem. You've got to be a problem solver. You've got to be a great listener. You've got to be a man of faith. You've got responsibilities to be a great father and somebody that could be trusted and be the mensch, because the light's going to shine on God's chosen people. My grandmother said, the chosen people, maybe you should have chosen somebody else. This is not so easy, in her broken English. But Ron Dermer's point was this, and this is my point to all of you. Do everything you can. I mean, Pastor Hagee is encouraging you to do all you can and to stand with Israel and to lead in your community. But here's what I would start. Start at home. Just start at your kitchen table. It's safe. Start there. And then see if maybe you can get it into your workplace, maybe it could be a safe place, but you've got to evaluate that. I have lots of young coaches, Sandy, that come up to me that want to try to do what I'm doing, but they're not at a place like Auburn, Alabama, where the evangelical Christian community is standing with Israel, and they've not been to Final Four 2 times in the last 6 years. So I mean, it's not like, as long as I keep winning, I'm safe. So yeah, no, listen, CNN came out back in the fall during the election when, look, I will tell you, I voted for President Barack Obama twice to be the President of the United States, and I was so proud of our country for electing African-American man twice. I was proud of this country. I didn't agree with hardly anything he did, or a lot of, especially the way he treated Israel, but that's another story. But I was proud of this country. And you know, I want to obviously lead my guys in such a way where they understand there are going to be obstacles, but not roadblocks. They've got to be able to, and I don't want any excuses for failure, because if Barack Obama can do it, you know, anybody could do it. And obviously I lost my train of thought, so go ahead with the next question.
First of all, he's being humble when he talks about his Jewish coaches. He was the first president of the Jewish Coaches Association. He started it. And it was just a few Jewish guys hanging out and having bagels, and now you're up to what, 800 coaches?
We are, and our first one was in San Antonio. That was our first Jewish Coaches Association.
Bagels
was in San Antonio.
Breakfast tacos.
Bagels with Bruce. That's what it was.
Bagels with Bruce. And now they're up to 800 Jewish coaches, which is outstanding. But to your point, you know your center of influence, make it influential. There wasn't a Jewish Coaches Association. You just called the 4 that you knew. And from that, you are now at 800, and you are able to mentor these coaches to have lasting consequences for their players. Everybody who was at the Jewish community event last night heard Pastor Hagee talk about Coach Goldberg. He's the first Jewish person Pastor Hagee ever met. And they were dear friends Coach Goldberg's entire life. Met him in middle school. He was a coach. And when Pastor Hagee's dad didn't go to the games, Coach Goldberg went to the games. Coach Goldberg and the influence that he had changed the trajectory of this man's life with respect to Judaism, the Jewish people, and ultimately the state of Israel. And what Coach Pearl is able to do with this Jewish Coaches Association to pay it forward and to mentor these coaches to hopefully replicate what he is doing with his team, we are never going to be able to measure the influence of that. So thank you for your willingness to also do that as well. I want to ask, I feel like I know how you're going to answer this, but I do think that it's important to ask, because it's been said that coaches may have more of a stage than they deserve when it comes to speaking out on issues like Israel. So what do you say to that?
Well, we all have choices to make, and oftentimes what I do is I ask my guys, what's our secret sauce? People ask, Coach, what's the secret sauce? We simply try and get our student athletes to do what God would have them do every single day. Okay, pray from the beginning of God, and let your first word be thank rather than I, which was so cool, and that's sort of how we would go about it. The other thing that we're judged on based on not just what we say, but what we do. So every 4 years, the NCAA allows us to take a foreign trip, if you will, and a lot of times teams go to the Bahamas, they go to different places. I took my team to Israel. And you don't have to do a whole lot of pre-work or, ideas. You just take them off the plane. You take them to the beaches of Tel Aviv. They see all the beautiful people. They see the color. They see the diversity. Oh my God, this is not at all what I thought it was going to look like. I said, yeah, I could have taken you to Fort Lauderdale. It would be the same exact thing. But it's not. And then you take them to Jerusalem. And you take them to a place that looks like the Bible. And the Holy Spirit absolutely speaks through them. And then you take them up to the Sea of Galilee. And you take them to the Jordan River where John baptized Jesus, and you take them to the same places that Jesus was baptized. And then all year long, when we're winning basketball games and we're doing different things, rather than putting 3 fingers up in the air when they're knocking down a 3, my guys are doing this. You know what that is? They're calling God. They're calling God and thanking God for the blessings and things like that. Now, what that does as a coach is when they're doing this, then I get to say, look, if we're going to do this, then we can't do that. Oh, he wanted you to cheat on that test. My bad, I didn't get that memo. I didn't hear that from God. So on and so forth. So again, going back to doing things that bring us together, and find the foundations of our faith. And the bottom line was, so many grandmas and aunties and different people will never get the chance to go to Israel, and their sons or their nephews went to Israel for them. Walked the walk, walked where Jesus walked, prayed where Jesus saved, was betrayed where Jesus was betrayed. Can I tell you about the first time I went to the Garden of Gethsemane? I got to the gate, and I went there with my beautiful wife, Brandy, and at first I would not walk in there. It was enough to just see it. It was enough to just see it. And there were these red flowers on the ground. Remember, honey, those little red poppy flowers, and they just reminded me a little bit of Jesus' tears and what he must have felt, but obviously what he knew was what was going to happen, so on and so forth. So it's just to my example, is you're known in your community. Oh, you're that Kufi representative. You're with Christians United for Israel. How do you treat people? What kind of business do you do? Right? You are the light. You are the light. And everybody, and I want to ask God to bless you, and I want to thank God for you.
Receive that.
Yep.
I know probably everybody in here, if they didn't see it live, well, I know everybody that's a member of the SEC state saw it live. But if you didn't see it live, then you saw it on the news after. You used a post-game presser after you had a big win to talk about American hostage in Gaza, Edan Alexander. He has since been freed, thank God.
Thank God.
Coach Pearl used his press conference time to advocate for Edan's release. But I don't know if what doesn't get said a lot is you actually asked your team beforehand if they were okay with you using that time. Can you tell us about that?
Sandy, I'm so glad you asked that question. So here's what happens. This is very Jewish, okay? At a Jewish wedding, when everybody is celebrating and making promises to God, there's so much joy, so much happiness, so much laughter, so much singing. What do? We shatter a glass. We break it into a million pieces, and we recognize how fragile life can be, how fragile a marriage could be, and also biblically, it's a reminder of the destruction of the Second Temple. So what do we Jews do? Even when we're happy, we're sad. We remind ourselves, we're happy, but somebody else is suffering. Could be worse, could be better. I'm walking down the hall of Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky, having just beaten Creighton to go to the Sweet 16. And we got Michigan and Michigan State in our way. We're going to the Final Four, and I'm skipping down the Yellow Brick Road with my 3 players, and we're going to our press conference. And what happens to me? For some reason, Edan Alexander's name comes into my heart. God put it there. I was in the middle of thanking God for the blessing. I'm like, God, thank you. What in the world have we done? What have I done to deserve all this blessing? God, thank you. He said, Mordecai. That's my Hebrew name. And you guys have already talked about Queen Esther and what could have been the first Holocaust with Haman. And because Mordecai spoke through Queen Esther, there was not a Holocaust. So I said to my guys, guys, listen, this is unbelievable. We're going to the Sweet 16, but I got to tell you what just happened. It didn't shock them. God put this on my heart. You guys know there's still an American held hostage in Gaza. Actually, there's 58 at the time. And one of my players who's from Jersey said, Todd Pettiford said, Coach, the kid's from Jersey, right? He was talking about Edan Alexander. I said, would you mind if I don't want to take anything away from you guys. Would you mind if I started the press conference on and mentioned his name and asked for the hostages to be released and come home? They said, Coach, do it. Do it. We're behind you 100%. And we did.
Well, if I may, Coach Mordecai, you're a prime example of 2 things that are central to the Kufi identity, which is you don't need to agree on everything to be united about one thing, and you don't even need to have played the game to participate. This man, despite his prowess, has never played basketball, even at the JV level. Is that accurate?
No, I played a JV. I did.
You did play JV?
And I walked on the basketball team, but I got cut. I got really bad wheels.
Okay, bad wheels.
But you're right, I was not a very good player.
Not a player. Meaning you don't need to participate in the game like you think you need to participate in the game in order to dominate the game. So do not psych yourself out and say, because I'm not D1 starting 5 show ball Shaq Diesel, I'm just gonna sit here and keep my mouth shut. That's a lie from the devil, and the devil is a liar. So With that in mind, what would you say to our members that are unsure as to the best way to take a stand on this issue in their everyday life?
All right, this is the last question.
This is it. Make it a goodie.
All right. You're on the side of truth. You are on the side of truth. You're on the side of, unfortunately, a battle right now between good and evil. Unfortunately, our children aren't equipped with the answers to questions about apartheid or genocide. In 1948, there were about 160,000 Arabs living in the land, in that land of Israel. Okay? Today, there are about 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza, in that land. There are about 1.8 million living in Judea and Samaria. And there are a little over 2 million Israeli Arabs living the best lives of any Arabs in the region, living in the state of Israel as citizens, as doctors and lawyers and politicians, and that's almost 6 million. There has been no genocide. If Israel was genocide, they're bad at it, because you don't go from 160,000 to $6 million. It's a lie. It is just a lie. And so I'm hopeful. Right now, because of what President Trump has done, he has obviously defeated Israel's enemy in such a way that now peace through prosperity actually has a chance. We cannot take our eye off the ball. The Ayatollah still wants us dead. He still wants a nuclear weapon. He's going to do everything he possibly can. And if there is not a regime change right now, they are still a tremendous threat to Israel. And this president is going to pay close attention. But we can't always count that we're going to have this president, right? And so therefore, we need our voices to be able to stand with Israel and understand that, you know, Israel has wanted to live next door to its Arab neighbors, willing to live next door. It's just there was a certain element of that neighbor that did not want us in the neighborhood. They still don't want us in the neighborhood. But you know what? They're coming around. Things are changing right now. And you know what I'm really excited about? With peace and prosperity, with the Abraham Accords, all of a sudden the Middle East is going to got a chance to be an economic dynamo. Israel is on top of tech and cyber and more unicorns, so on and so forth. Now some of these other Gulf Arab states are going to enjoy a better relationship with Israel. They're going to be in science and medicine and technology. This area's got a chance to completely take off, and the United States of America is going to be the beneficiary. I agree. Israel isn't just our best. Israel is not just our best ally or one of the best. They are America's best ally. This is the last thing I want to leave you with, is this, okay? When we're worrying about anti-Semitism or worrying about people that aren't standing with Israel, you know what we need to do in this country more than anything else? We got to teach people in this country to love this country, to love this country first and foremost, and recognize that this is the best country in the entire world. This is the land of opportunity for everybody. There were 3 Jewish basketball coaches that coached in the past Final Four. This is the people that love this country, love Israel. God bless America, and Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you.